hearing to order. We're going to do roll call. Justin? Here. Francis? Here. Doug? Here. Bob? Here. Jeff? Yes. And myself here. This is public hearing portion on the budget.
So if you'll let me present a little bit, and then we'll open up for any public input regarding the budget. On page 2, you see the notice of budget hearing and budget summary. And ultimately, the numbers that are in that middle column refer to the 22-23 school year. So you see the items that are budgeted for each of our funds: general depreciation, employee benefit, contingency activities, school nutrition, bond fund, special building, qualified capital purpose undertaking, cooperative and student fee. And what we have budgeted totals up $22,276,776.47. Each of those funds, you see back in 2021, those are actual numbers off the audit. The next column, 21-22, those are anticipated. So those are going to be pretty daggone close in the general fund. It's certainly what, I'm not sure what the auditor will say. We may have some other codes that we have to switch up a little bit. But all those other funds are the actual numbers that we spent out of each of those funds. So just in general, all the way to the right side, that right column gives you what the total tax requirement is when you look at all the funds that we have to get money provided for to take care of our school needs. This is the document that we looked at our budget workshop. So I guess basically I'd just entertain any questions, any comments that the public might have. This was published in the North Bend Eagle, and it was also on our website. So invite comments at this time.
Anybody have anything they would like to comment on for the budget? This is, this is same asking as we asked.
Yes, and we'll get down to the asking. It's defined a little bit better, Dan, in that the hearing is set the final tax request.
Okay.
We'll be able to see that a little bit better there.
If there's no comment, I guess keep moving forward then.
We'll close that hearing.
Okay. We need a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Jeff and Bob, any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, that is, part is closed. Now we are in a public hearing setting the final tax request.
Okay, that's the second document you see on page 3. And the numbers to pay attention to here, it outlines what our property valuations were last year: $1,113,330. I'm sorry, got to get a few more zeros. $1,113,330,004. That's last year's valuation. The new valuation, which as you see was a 4% change, is $1,101,286,561. So that is the basis through which the tax levies are set, and that applies back to each of the funds that you see. The left-hand grayish area would be the information from last year, and the right-hand side is your 22-23 budget information. And as you look on each one of those, you can see what tax was requested for this year as opposed to last year. So the middle column on 22-23, the proposed property tax request is $6,904,076.56. And in the prior year, it was slightly higher, $6,958,204. And you can see the appropriate or the associated levy rates then. So last year, on last year's valuation, the levy for the general fund was 0.624990. And had we kept that same valuation, the levy would be, to get this year's request, it would have been 599,181. Now remember, valuations went up 4%. So the levy rate required for the general fund is 0.594520, and that is a 5% tax rate. Budget is up 1%. You can see the budget this year, $10,726,812. Last year, the budget was $10,613,897. Remember, budgeting is not spending money. It's allowing you to spend money if you choose to do that. You can't overspend your budget. So that's why I chose to up your budget. It's not spending the money, but it allows you to, should something come up. Who knows what could come up? Roof gone, tornado, you name it, fire. And of course, if that happens and you have a lot of more spending, you obviously have the opportunity to amend your budget as well. So apply that thinking to all of those funds, and at the bottom of the middle column, you see $8,355,358.56. That is a combined property tax request we would be asking our taxpayers this year for. The prior year, go back to that middle column on the left side, $8,416,790. So ultimately, you're down $60,000 or more in what you're asking taxpayers to pay this year. Again, all of our budget, our line items are in really good shape, cash values in the bank, and the ability to back off just a little bit, it's certainly going to be able to allow to support all of the funds for the school based on this information. So again, any public comments, welcome to this.
Yeah, any from public? Any comments from the board? If not, I think we can close this one out. Jeff, need a second? Justin? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passed to adjourn.
That next page 4, starting with page 4 and going to page 24. That's the information that I send into the state auditor and Department of Education. So that's just all the documents. I put them up front because if there was any questions about any part of that for the tax hearing or for the budget, we'd be having close access. But we'll reference back to that as we go into our regular meeting now.
All right, which we will call the regular meeting to order. We've already done roll call, Open Meetings Act, we're supposed to on the wall. Again, I would ask if there's any public comment. I don't have that on the sheet, but and if not, we'll include ready business items. And that would be consideration of adopting the 2022-23 district budget.
So moved.
We need a motion to approve the tax.
Adopt it.
Yep, okay. Motion by Jeff.
Second.
Second by Francis. Any discussion? If not, let's do roll call. Justin?
Yes.
Francis?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Me, yes. Motion passes. All right, that takes us right into consideration adopting of tax 2022-23 tax resolution.
On page 24, that is the tax resolution. So this is pretty much an official document that come right out of the budget, and it lists everything there, and what needs to be done in each one.
Okay. So we need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Jeff.
Second.
Second Doug. If now roll call, Francis?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Me, yes. Justin?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. All right, we'll move into approval of minutes for the August 28th budget workshop. You guys have any corrections or changes to that? Now, I will approve them as presented and move us into the bills.
All right, page 27 has your end of August balances in each of our funds. And nothing there that is a surprise. Again, I would tell you that, of course, as we continue to pay bills through the building fund for the elementary project, and a few items out of the depreciation fund, we got a bill late from Clark Anderson that dealt with Robbie, I believe, that we weren't able to get on this agenda, but it'll be on October. So we still have a few other things coming out of this, but not very much. Everything else that you see there, there's nothing that is standing out to me that needs to be brought great attention to unless you have questions on. You turn the page and you get all the general fund information there on page 28. Again, you look at all the total of all the general fund accounts, $4,421,892.63. When we look at the audit report, when our auditor is done, we'll be able to take a look back and get actual numbers on where the audit was from this last school year and how that compares under the general fund balances. Over on the bills, I'm not sure there's too much there. This month, on my mileage bill, this was the first month where I actually had a mileage for every day that school was in session. So, you know, there will be days in months to come that I won't be driving in, so that's probably about as bad as the total is going to get. On that first page, again, nothing that would appear to me to be out of the ordinary. Flip the page over. Question?
Yeah, I could, Al's repair, 2020 Freightliner and the 2013 Freightliner, about a third of the way down. There's a discrepancy in the is the same, but the amounts are different. Bus safety inspection and battery, bus safety inspection and battery, one's $521.90, one's $346.73. So,
Two different buses?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean it's the same service.
Yeah. Did we bring those bills with us?
I did bring them, if you wanna look at those bills.
Well,
now,
I don't know. It was just something that I just noticed there was a discrepancy.
Also, there's 217 is safety inspection and maintenance, the same price.
Yeah, the 2015 is basically the same thing, but there's no maintenance there. 2017, 220 did not say maintenance.
Do you wanna look at them?
Sure. Okay, this one is,
More batteries.
number? Because it doesn't have a number, does it? So we're looking for 521.90. Okay, on this one, it had two 31 MHD batteries for $341.90. The safety inspection was the same, $135. Replace batteries, and I'm not sure what that means. If that means exchanging the old ones and then taking the new ones, but replacing batteries, $45, and then sales tax. Okay, the next one, which is $346, that is an oil filter for $36.95, the oil for $134.78, and service safety inspection of $175. So battery isn't included on that $346 one. So the big difference would be the battery on the 2020.
Should have had the battery removed and just put maintenance on it.
So we might want to talk, Kirsten, how we label that as we go on, and make sure we're understanding it a little bit better.
Well,
We'll look at any of those others, Bob?
those are, that was just the one that just
Okay, all right.
stuck out.
As you flip to that next page, again, early in the year, you're gonna have some instructional supplies that are rolling in. You see that bill on that Thomas, that's the bus that rolled, that $18,000.53, or $53.74. That's the repair. And in talking with Mike, that thing is back into full service, doing fine?
Insurance reimbursement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that, we got our
All of
insurance
it?
reimbursement. You remember that?
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
But they have cut us a check for the,
Everything less than deductible, if I remember when we talked about it before.
could be. I'm sorry, I don't have that information on what they're checking. If that was already, the deductible was probably already in there. So, for sure, we would have had a deductible.
The Clark Anderson bill, how come it's sinking fund, not building fund?
When you say the sinking fund, I believe that is building fund. The other fund we would use for that would be a depreciation fund, but
So,
building fund.
So in other words, I'm just semantics.
Yeah. Francis, where are you seeing the term sinking fund?
Right up here,
Page 30,
Page 30.
right above the.
The bottom.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Probably should say building.
yeah, it should say building fund.
okay.
Again, another place of semantics that Kirsten and I can sit down and just get that worked out. Any other questions?
Now we'd be looking for a motion to pay the bill.
So moved.
Moved by Francis, second Justin. Any discussion? Now roll call, Doug?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Me, yes. Justin? Yes. And Francis?
Yes.
Motion passes to pay the bills.
After that, you see an activities fund report. If you look on page 33, remember at our meeting on the 28th, we decided to make some transfers. You see at that top, 130,747 was what the receipts were, so 130,000 of that was our transfers that we made. And then that will get distributed out to various funds. Whitney will sit down with John and Tessie and Brenda and look to see where we need to have that money for those activities.
Next item is second reading of policy. Review 23-29.
Yes, we, as you look on page 36, you see that policy. Now, the last time we looked at this, remember there were 3 options for the selection process, and we chose the middle option, which was the committee option, and that's what you see there now. That's what the policy reflects what we had decided. And again, this has 2 parts. 1, the selection process of the media, and then 2, requested review of the materials. And we selected option 1 on that particular one. So you see the policy as we will want to adopt it now.
So this is second reading, so we need a motion to approve if you so choose.
So we,
Doug, and second
Second.
by Francis. Any discussion?
Only thing that adopted on August 2022 on page 37 at the clerk bottom needs to be changed. 'Cause we're
September,
actually- Yeah,
that's a good point.
Adopted and approved. Is there a difference?
I don't think so. Did you adopt it, you approved, right?
I think adopted is.
Being approved.
but it's not finalized till this
Because
meeting.
we talked about it last month, so.
Right.
Any other discussion? Now, do roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, Justin?
Yes.
Francis? And Doug?
Yes.
All right. Motion to adopt that policy 329. Moves us into reports, and first up is superintendent report.
Okay, you know how you sit down and you talk with people and you take notes to start with? So that first paragraph that you see is my notes that I was talking with Galen. And then I wrote the update right underneath it. Forgot to go back and take those notes out. So if that was catching anybody's idea, well, he's talking about the same thing there. I apologize for that. So the elementary project update, and Tessie, you can kind of chime in on any of this too, because we've had some updates from even when this was written. Things have been going really well. The notion that we still have a working on, we still have outside windows and doors that haven't been done. They've been installing inside doors. They have been finishing up some things, ran into a little bit of an issue with some doors, and the strikers that they identified when they came to put the indoor doors in, some of the door frames didn't match the way that they were supposed to. So ultimately, Clark Anderson, who was the architect that set the specs for that, and D.R. Anderson, who is doing the work, the actual work, were in a little bit of a disagreement about who is responsible for why we got more work to do. That will not be a school expense. Now, however, some other things there that have to do with additional hardware, that would have had to go into the project no matter what. So something like that would be some of our responsibility. Tell you the truth, how many change orders have you guys done in this project? Boy, going through a project in which when you start in, you never know what you're going to get into when you tear into an old building. And to have been able to go through this far, that's pretty remarkable. It really is. So that means a lot of planning, good coordination between the contractors and the architects. That's really worked pretty well. I know Tessie just got a note from Debbie at Rogge's that the glass has been delayed a little bit from Lincoln Glass. They were supposed to come in September 16th. And Tessie, what's that new date now?
26th.
The 26th.
Yep, that's our start date for us. So
Yeah.
the glass will be on September next week.
So,
For windows
And doors.
and doors.
outside doors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we're cranking along there, and it sounds like the work has been done pretty cognizant about learning and not interrupting the learnings going on down in the building. So, I think you folks did a really nice job in the selection of contractors and working with the architects, and it seems to me like that's worked out pretty well. So, and Galen certainly seemed to be happy with the way things were going there. That high school facilities report, Mike and Brenda and John and I have been looking at some of the issues that we have going on in the outdoor maintenance of our school. We've had some sprinkler issues on the football field, on the practice field. We've had some leaks out there with that pump. Brenda brought Sean in to kind of take a look at a few things. Justin stopped up and looked at a few things with us. I think we've made some real progress. I know that football field is looking better than it was a week ago, that's for sure. Mike had indicated he was having trouble finding a time, especially with that practice field, that there weren't kids out there using it. So to just schedule it. But we are trying to do more in the evenings now at night, going from one side of that practice field to the next. Just stepping out and looking at it here before the meeting, it's gotten greener, but it still needs more water, that's for sure. And obviously, would you guys get an inch and a quarter, inch and 20, something like that? That was a big help, and a little cooler temperature in there for a couple days. But those are some things, we told Mike we certainly need to support him as he learns a little bit more about how to care for some of those outside maintenance things. So we're hoping to get some trainings for him and keep an eye out for anything else. Where that well was leaking, there's a real iron stain. We have used some vinegar on it, and it's gotten better. I don't know that it's quite to the place that we really want it to be, but we'll continue to strategize a few things and see how maybe that gets improved over the time. You know what, and I don't know if you guys have had a building committee that's been active where we went out and we actually looked at the high school campus and the elementary campus. That would be some time well spent, I think. If we could just take an evening, and I don't know, maybe coming in early before a board meeting and do a little walk where we could identify some things that we wanted to either do as a project or take care of in terms of maintenance. Something like that would probably be some time.
Yeah,
well
that's what
spent.
we usually do.
Okay.
We go out before the meeting
Do
and
you
kind of
have
look at the campus, and
Do you have a month where that happens?
I don't know that we have a specific month. I think it
Used to be June or July. when we
was
did
it.
A lot of times we do it before, so doing the summer projects can
Yeah,
happen.
that's kind of what
right.
it was, it's usually right before the summer.
Yeah.
We've really done it as a board more than.
Sure,
as a
that
committee.
makes more sense, tell you the truth. You bet.
So we have done that in the past, and it seems to work all right.
What do you think about April? Because we're putting together plans, I mean, if you start building in from
That's great.
April on.
That's great with me.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff, that's great.
Or May, maybe even.
Sure.
When
Oh.
we're planting.
Yeah, we'll set them up.
All right, everybody but Jeff and Dan, what would be a good time to take a look? April, May?
Or even March, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Depends on what
You
the
might be
season,
fighting a little snow.
More time to figure out.
what the season's like, I mean,
I was just gonna say, maybe it should be done once before winter, once coming out of winter. and you see, going into winter, what stuff needs to be done, sealed up, then coming out, what damage may be occurred, I don't know, right before spring, right, and then
Actually, like next month, you think?
probably, I mean, 'cause I know there's some bulk and stuff that needs to be sealed up around some gutters.
So if we were to come in at 6:30 and start the elementary, do a little walk around, mop up here, probably get done what we need to do, so we could start the meeting at 7:30. That sound all right?
We walk fast and
If we
don't talk.
Walk
Walk fast
get
and
your,
don't talk.
what'd you call that? Not a gator, what you got?
Oh, Ranger, the side by side?
The side by side, yeah.
I can think of only one though.
All right, I will include then that, an invitation reminder for next month. October, walk around. 6:30. Okay, early childhood program. That next page 40 is the email that I got about our early childhood program. Brenda and Tessie, do you know when that program was started?
I've been here 8 years, 11 years ago.
11 years ago.
Yep.
So there was a startup grant that schools were eligible for, so you started that up, and for the first probably 3 years, pretty much paid for. But then after that, it became the school's responsibility to pick up those expenses. So you can be very proud to know that we have kept that program going. It doesn't make any difference what set of research you take a look at. Those gains made in the early years of education are irreplaceable. They just are. So the note about the approval coming from NDE, I wanted you to see that. We commend you on a commitment to provide a early childhood experience for the children and families enrolled in the program. So Brenda and Tessie do all the work to keep that thing going. So I just wanted you to make sure that you were aware that the program's there and to give a little bit of thanks for keeping that program going. I have started to work on the goal that you set, identified as your top goal from our workshop, the 28th. And my first set of descriptions will revolve around the maintenance department and the custodian department. And we'll just kind of keep rolling through. My plan is to have a template that lists a number of things for job descriptions and skills necessary, that kind of thing. I will get that then into the hands of the people in that position to see what they actually are doing as opposed to what is listed. And then we'll collaborate about what will need to be on there. I will get with Tessie and Brenda to make sure that they know what that says too, but the final decision on what the job descriptions will be mine. And then I will forward that to the board. My goal is to have it completed by December. You know, that's a lot of different, we got a lot of different jobs. I mean, there are a number of things that are just a little different that might be called a different job, so we want to make sure we got everything covered. It could bleed into the next school year, but we'll continue working on that as we move forward. Gang, the state school board conference, that's what this item is right here. That's coming up November 16th through 18th. We just printed this off for you to take a look. I'm not sure what your experience in the past has been. If basically a 3-day conference, that Wednesday the 16th they do an afternoon kind of pre-conference thing, and then Thursday the 17th is an all-day kind of deal. Friday there's a morning session. That's done after that Friday keynote. No matter what, if we're going to attend, we have to get registered. As you see the registration there, it's $300 for each board member, and that's beginning that registration just opens tomorrow, so, we're gonna need to know before too long. The registration runs through November 4th, so it's not like we decide tonight, but certainly by the time we get to October, we need to make a decision about what we wanna do. What have you done in the past on this?
We've gone down, a lot of times for the late, depends, some of us went down on Wednesday night and stayed over and then did the whole all day Thursday. In the past, we've even had the whole, when the whole board got down, we even had like Friday, we had, when we were doing construction, we had met with, Bob Soka and had a meeting,
Sometimes they whine and
but,
Facilities tours.
yeah.
Yeah, a couple different years we did facility tours on
Yeah.
that Friday afternoon.
There's the elementary, I remember softball fields, we were looking at dugouts.
Football
structures and
Yeah,
stuff.
I know
Astro
stopping
turf.
at Bennington Elementary there and looking at their new facilities.
Okay, that was before
That
my
was
time.
as they were building.
Yeah.
we went and looked at AstroTurf over in Humphrey, St. Francis, or whatever they,
But not as
that was
part
for
of that,
football.
but not part of that,
Oh, maybe that
That's
wasn't.
part of that.
Cedar Bluffs, that one year we did after.
Yes,
Yeah.
I looked at their career in building.
And this was all during the time of the school board convention?
Usually
That was
yeah,
on Friday.
usually the Friday,
Yep. Gotcha.
on the way
On
out,
our way
You bet.
home or something.
You bet.
but,
So,
we have attended it and it's been
Yeah, I was.
pretty educational.
well, that means we need to get busy looking into some rooms then for Wednesday and Thursday?
The sooner you get them, the better.
Absolutely.
the rooms.
So maybe we need to
You can
decide.
actually stay there then. You don't have to stay downtown.
That's right.
Move.
That's right. So,
I
do
don't know
we
if
want
the- I don't
to?
know if the Wednesday for sure, but Thursday was
Yeah,
a lot of people.
attending Thursday for sure, I would say.
And Thursday was a real good meeting.
Some of the, I mean, depends on people's schedule, some of the guys came down Thursday morning, attended all day. And then,
That's usually like Francis and I did that.
yeah, she was in Mayo.
Well, let's make this simple. Let's get rooms for Wednesday and Thursday for everybody. And if you know you're not gonna be able to go, let us know so we can cancel out rooms. I'm sure we can at least look.
It's easier to cancel.
Yes, absolutely. So Kirsten, tomorrow, why don't you and I sit down and, let's look at the hotel reservation stuff, and then you guys can be thinking about if you wanna go Wednesday. You don't need a room Wednesday, let us know that. Be great if we could all stay over on Thursday, and then kinda make a plan what we wanna do for the conference, as well as any touring you might wanna do.
We've even presented a couple times on bond issue, what to do after bond issue or during bond issue, I forget what all it was.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good.
Can we do something with the flood too?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's NERC's conference, I think.
Oh,
Oh, bad, maybe in ASB, I don't know.
yeah.
Well, you did it NERCS for sure, because I remember the presentation you guys made there. Okay, and of course then the Spark demonstration. Any comments about what you saw at the 7 o'clock Spark demonstration?
The part about getting policy, taking care of it, putting the policy online, it was gonna cost, I think it was $9,800 was what we were quoted before. And that's included. I mean, that almost makes, it's almost like a no-brainer. I mean, that, cause
Well,
it just, that savings
We
is
probably
paid for
have
5
to
years.
purchase 6 laptops.
Well, we would, the school is gonna provide that for you,
Yeah.
my goodness sakes. I'll get with Jim and we
There
will
would
get
be
that
something
going.
there that you'd have to do.
Yeah.
Or I suppose a guy could use his own too.
Or if you had like an iPad or something, if you, I know
Absolutely.
I bring mine to
Sure.
Road meeting and use that.
Absolutely.
Do you know, Bob, one of your questions was, what if we part ways? So all that would go down, the policy part.
Well, my
Because there was
understanding.
gonna be a link to their site.
Well, yeah, see, that was what I asked them, I understood her to say that they would send
Everything
you
in a
the
PDF or
information.
something.
Right, well,
But-
yeah,
yeah.
so maybe we'd have it in a PDF then.
Yeah, but yeah, you
That
do,
would
that was my question, was if they get pricey or whatever. I mean, it's.
I can tell you, that sounds pretty much like what I remember paying in the past.
Yeah, I don't
So-
see, they sound like they're supporting it.
Well, they're making
Other
money off
places,
of
oh, yeah.
Texas.
Yeah.
They're selling this thing to 15 other states.
Yeah.
So doing that, they can keep prices pretty nice, I think.
Yeah.
And this is our association.
Yeah.
So they have no vested interest in trying to make a lot of extra stuff
Yeah.
off of Nebraska schools.
Give it to Chris and put you on the spot a little bit. You would have to deal with this, and how do you do it? Do you feel it'd be easier or more efficient? Or what are your thoughts?
Definitely more efficient, less time doing minutes, like she said, it's done by the end of the meeting. And then all the copies that we make and corrections and stuff.
Yeah, and
And
keeping it current,
postage
updated.
and all that stuff. yeah.
Well, and Jeff commented about copies too. What did this cost us per copy?
Yeah.
With all the color.
The color in it, we just took it right off the website.
Yeah, I know. I'm
But
just
you're right,
saying.
you click on it and you got all the beauty of this document just
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
I was surprised that they weren't going to bill us for archiving information. That we just have to get the information to them and they
I was
upload
gonna
it
say,
there.
it just have to get them the information, that might
Right.
take a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like Corey's got all that done already, right?
If there is somebody that's excited about this, it's Corey.
Yeah.
Corey was one of the first ones to look into this and said, wow, this looks like a kind of cool deal.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll have it on as an October item, and if you got any questions about anything you saw, get the questions to me and I'll talk with Nicole. That's all I got, Dan.
Okay, that takes us into high school principal report.
All right, so I'm on page 41. We've had a great start to the school year. Actually, next Tuesday, because Monday we have an in-service, next Tuesday will be midterm. So we've been in about 4.5, 5 weeks, which is crazy. I had to remind my teachers today that we're at midterm. It just seems like it's flown by, but it's been a good start. The first couple items I have is the ELA and the PBSS. The ELA is our English Language Arts curriculum. We're spending a lot of time on training this year, obviously because we just adopted a new series. We did finish our last webinar training about a week and a half ago with the company. So now the ESU2 and Karen Zitlow will be our support person as we move through just getting acquainted with the new curriculum, how to implement it, using new assessments, things like that. And the next one is the PBSS, and that is our classroom culture piece. Like I said, next Monday we have an in-service, and so that'll be our morning. We have, it's about an hour webinar piece we watch, and then we have Mike Veit from the ESU2 comes in and we do about an hour with him, and we just kind of go over some of the things that we're looking at. The next one we're looking at is positive praise. So it's looking at pointing out the positives before you point at the negatives. You know, always point out like 2 positives before you look at a negative. Really praise the positive behavior in the classroom, not necessarily the kiddo that's not doing what you expect them to do. So we're really excited about that. We had the first 2 in our pre-service and they went really well. The staff enjoyed it. Mike, he's very charismatic. He's a good speaker, and so he really had him engaged in our hour that we had together. So I think that'll be good. We're also working on identifying what it looks like in our common areas. So we've looked at hallways, cafeteria. This week we're looking at the restroom, what our expectations of our kids are during the school day in those common areas. We're focusing on safety, respect, and responsibility. So during the TAP class, they put up a slide, they talk about it as a group, and then they send me some feedback. So it's going really well. The next item I have is pizza and parents night meeting. We're trying to post this all over Facebook and all of our social media. Mrs. Wright, Mrs. Gauss, I met with Todd Hansen from Metro Community College. As many of you maybe heard, Metro is offering free classes to high school seniors and juniors. It's part of some monies they received, and different community colleges are handling them differently. So he would like to come out and present that to our parents, and it fits really nice with this time of year and doing EdQuest, which is the applying for financial aid and scholarships. So we're going to bring in some pizza. It's a Wednesday night, so we're promoting it for parents because we don't have kids in the building on Wednesday nights, but if they're going to come with their parents, we're not going to shoo them away. But they're going to come out. Todd Hansen's going to present, I believe, in this room, and then EdQuest will be in the cafeteria, and then we'll just switch. So we're really excited about providing this for our parents and providing the information out there of what the free tuition looks like, and then also how to apply for financial aid. Our lunch program, I'm working with Joy daily. We have a new crew in our cafeteria. We only have one returning person, so we've had some hiccups in our cafeteria, just kind of getting things up and running. But I think we're doing a nice job. Every day we have more and more options. Today we had one of our kids' favorite. We had meal in a bowl. It was a hit. Last Friday we had cinnamon rolls for breakfast, which were to die for. She's coming with a lot of different options, things that we haven't done before. But again, some of the staples that we're used to, we just have to let her know, hey, this is how we normally do things. You can change it, you can do it differently, but this is kind of what our kids are used to. But it's a learning curve, and we're getting better every day. The next thing I have is MAPS and NSCAS. That's kind of our testing that we'll be doing throughout the rest of the month. We're required for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to do NSCAS growth. And then all of our other students in the areas of math, English, and science will be taking up MAP assessments, just kind of giving us some baselines of where we're at. And then the last half here is our department team meetings. A lot of our staff, especially here at the high school, are what we call singletons. They're specialists in their area. So I'm going to use Roy Wright as an example. He's our only shop teacher. He doesn't have anybody else in the building to bounce ideas off of. So the ESU has created small mini groups with schools from the ESU too, so they can go to a location and bounce ideas off each other, have conversations with each other. So Roy Wright, my example, he hosted the STS teachers last week here. We're going to have our music teachers. They're going to meet at a different location. Family Consumer Science, they're meeting at a different location. So hopefully we can give our singleton teachers some colleagues that they can have conversations with and maybe bounce ideas off of to make their curriculum area good and solid when they don't have somebody maybe here in the building that they can talk to. Any questions? If not, I'm going to go sub with John so he can come in here and I'll go see how the volleyball game's going. Okay.
All right. In my report, you will hear a lot of things that are fairly similar to what's going on at the high school. As Brenda said, the first few weeks of school have flown by. It's always fun when someone walks into our building and they haven't seen the changes. So when you live it every day, you just kind of get used to it. It's beautiful. And a high school student, she walked in and her eyes were huge, and she just looked from side to side and said, "I can't believe it." Said, "It is, it's beautiful." So that's fun. It's a nice surprise that happens every couple of days. Brenda just talked about assessments that we're giving to kids. This is our fall benchmarking time. So we give a standard assessment to kindergarten through 2nd grade students, actually 3rd grade students. It's part of the Nebraska Reads Law, and it looks at identifying any kids who aren't meeting benchmark in specific areas of reading, and then we apply an intervention and communicate that information to parents. So we have the first 30 days of school to complete that assessment. So FastBridge looks at early reading skills, letter sound recognition, segmenting, blending, reading sight words, and then just reading fluency in general. And then teachers use that information to help with planning core instruction and then intervention groups. And then our K2 students will also complete MAP growth, similar to what Brenda talked about, by the end of this month. And within MAP, they take 2 assessments. One focuses more on comprehension and one focuses on math. We use that information to track their progress throughout the year, so it's tied to state standards. And we look at their RIT score to see, are they close to meeting benchmark? If not, what are the areas they need to work on or that we need to provide instruction in? And then we give that assessment 3 times a year, and we look to watch that grow. One of the changes we have, state testing has typically been done in the spring. This year it's changing to being given 3 times a year. So the NSCAS test, we need to take it in the fall by the end of September. We'll need to take it from the beginning of December to the end of January, and then we'll have another window that opens at the beginning of April and goes through the first week in March. So the goal is, again, to show growth over the year. So when our students go and take the test, so 3rd grade students are going to take a math test over something that they haven't received any instruction in. So it's just that dipstick to see where are you starting out the year, how much do you have to learn as you go through the school year, and the state really wants us to show that growth over time. So where did you start the year? Where are you at the middle of the year? And then how much more do you have to grow until you get to the end of the year? So it's a little bit more high stakes testing 3 times a year. So a little bit of pressure. Then we have our new curriculum. So we adopted EL as our new English Language Arts curriculum. Students spend 1 hour a day focused on comprehension and vocabulary that's taught through authentic literature. So meaning a book that you could purchase at a bookstore or pick up from your library. And that's across all grade levels. It's called the module block. Then the second hour of instruction, kindergarten through second grade students work on reading skills. So it's called skills block. They work on phonemic awareness, phonics, and word work and fluency, and small group instruction with their teachers. And then students at grades 3 through 5 spend their second hour in all block, which is additional language and literacy block. So they dive deeper into the text, focusing a little bit more on breaking apart some of the language pieces, grammar, mechanics, usage, and some comprehension. The curriculum is designed to help teachers identify the skills students need to work on to become successful readers. And we are partnering with UNL as part of a research project called the WORDS Project. They are coming out to provide some additional professional development for us based on assessments that we're giving to target some intervention with our kiddos. So it's a nice partnership for us. Girls on the Run is a club that is open to girls in grades 3 through 5. And it's being sponsored by the NBCE PTA, and some of our community partners. So the program is run by Marissa Ortmeyer, Beth Verana, and Bree Mealish. The volunteers all had to attend a training for the program, and then Beth Verana is our CPR certified volunteer for that team. There's 19 girls signed up, and they meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3:30 to 4:30. And then the purpose of the program is to build confidence and other important life skills through dynamic, interactive lessons and physical activity. And the girls think it's fantastic. They get so excited to go to their after-school club.
What about the teachers?
I don't even hear them. So the other day I was thinking, gosh, I should go out there and see them before they go. And I looked at the clock and they were already gone. I didn't hear a single peep from them. They were just out on the playground running their laps. I walked the other day by the classroom. So they have classroom lessons where they go into Mrs. Ortmeyer's room and they teach them a skill. And then they go out and run their laps. And I happened to be walking by when they were doing one of their cheers. And it was a superstar cheer. So the girls, I was taking pictures. It was super cute. But they're having a great time.
Good.
It's a good program. And then we already talked a little bit about construction. It's super busy. The dry sprinkler system, you heard about that. It was being worked on, working on the installation of the interior doors. Found out today we can't start exterior doors and windows, which is okay, because when we go to replace those, we're having classroom campout days, and it's going to be really awesome. But it's going to be a little bit of work to make it super fun. So it gives me an extra week to plan all that out. Because the kids will always remember that. They'll remember the week or the day that they had to move out of their classroom and go learn in the library. So just add a little bit of extra fun to it. And then I'll communicate with families as work gets going if there needs to be any changes to drop off and pick up that would affect any of the doors that the kids are exiting or entering. That's it. What questions?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Cassie. Next up is the activities director report. John, you want to come up?
Sure. Good, man. Sit right there.
It's
Well, I moved that chair up. If you want to
You can
push it back.
You can move it back a little bit.
Whatever you want to do.
Not in the hot zone.
There you go, that's kind of sorry.
All right. I just kind of put together some basic information for everybody. So far, our sports programs are the ones that have kicked off. Our activities will be starting here with one acts and speech, and those things will be kicking off here pretty soon. They're just going into auditions tomorrow for one act. So football-wise, we have 37 boys out. Softball, we have 24 girls. Volleyball, 14, and then cross-country, 10 girls and 8 boys. So that's 93 athletes for our boys and girls in the high school, which is, you know, a good percentage of our student body is participating in something, which is a good thing. We just hosted early in the year, we have an early softball tournament here, which is now at 6 teams. We were second place in this, and we were able to bring in teams from kind of a wide array. We had Bayard come down, so they drove 6.5 or some hours to come to North Bend to play. So it was a neat experience for them. That was their first game. They had just added softball, so we were their first experience, and they were very happy that they could come down. So that was a kind of a neat thing. We just got done hosting the NBC Volleyball Invitational. Again, we're lucky enough to kind of have a real team with Lexington. Freeman comes up from Adams. We have GICC came down. They're a really good team. Lincoln Christian was here. Obviously us, and I'm forgetting somebody. But a very wide array. We were able to win that, beat GICC, which was a really cool experience for our girls. As far as some other things going on, we're still adding competitions currently for girls wrestling, girls and boys bowling. We just added one, a duel the other day for bowling with York. Madison had some track issues, so we will be hosting this year's conference track meet since Madison was unable to do that, which I know our track coaches are excited about having it here, and we get a chance to show off our stuff, so that'll be good. We've made a few adjustments on the football field sprinkler system. I think if you go check it out, it's looking better, it's looking greener, getting better and better each time, so that's a good thing. And then something I didn't put on here that I should have, our booster club, we kind of got that rebooted. We got some great people working with that. Rich Samuelson's kind of heading that up. David Hill, Tammy Teason, Brock Blanchard, and Whitney Armstrong are all part of that board, and then Mrs. Peterson and myself are also part of that. And Rich kind of kicked that off by meeting with every NSAA-sponsored activity, plus a couple others, to kind of get a wish list and a want list for things that maybe the Booster Club could aid people in. So we're excited about that, and I think they'll do great with promoting our school activities and our programs. I think it'll be a really neat thing for us. So, any questions?
Footballs, we're the largest C2, or one of the largest C2?
We're one of the bigger C2 schools. Yeah, I don't know exactly. I haven't looked at it exactly where we're at, but we're one of the bigger ones.
Is this our first or second year?
This is the first year of the 2-year cycle. So we'll be C2 for sure for 2 years, and then somewhere next year they'll reevaluate it. And I think we'll probably stay there. Now it could also change, obviously, if there's new schools opening up and so on, but I think that's where we'll probably stay, at least for the near future.
Yeah, I knew we were like 1 or 2.
Yeah, so in football, we're one of the bigger C2 schools, which is a good thing.
Any questions for John? If not, thanks for coming in.
All right, thanks, Matthew. Yeah.
Hey, Dan, I wanted to thank the candidates that are on the November ballot for coming in, getting a call, and there's 6 of them, including Justin, and so we got all of them except one. That's fantastic. Very glad you came in. The October board meeting, you're certainly welcome to come to that one too, as well as let's see, I guess the election will be before our November meeting, won't it? But certainly, again, being here to see what happens with this superintendent search that's going to be coming on, it'd be great for you guys to know what's going on. But thank you for taking the time to come in. Hey, John?
Yes.
Tessie, do you know who Brenda's recommending for the custodial position?
I do not.
Could you get Brenda back here?
Sure
She's the
can.
one that has that recommendation for
Okay.
custodial.
All right.
Thank you.
Next up is personnel and paraprofessional recommendation.
Yep. So we had a library media para at the elementary that needed to be filled when Jamie Happy retired at the end of the year. And I interviewed a couple of people, and I'm recommending Lorraine Byer for that position. Lorraine is from Dodge and has 3 kids that attend North Bend Central. She's already started for us, so I'm hoping you approve her. If not, I'll have to tell her not to come. But she does a good job and learning the ropes. It's always hard to come into a job once the school year's going, because we spend those first few days back kind of reacquainting staff with everything, so we're trying to catch up. So that's my recommendation.
Is she every day of the week then?
She is every day.
Okay.
All right, we would need a motion if so choose, to hire the recommendation of the parent.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
Justin and Jeff, any discussion? If not, roll call, Jeff.
Yes.
Yes, Justin,
Yes.
Francis.
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Yes.
All
Tell her
right,
to keep coming.
Okay, good.
motion
you.
passes. Do you wanna wait on the?
Well, here's what I would recommend, before Jack and Rob get going on the superintendent search presentation, if we gotta take a bathroom break, why don't we do that quick? And then I bet Brenda will be back here, and she can make the recommendation on the custodial position.
Sounds good.
And then you two guys, come on up and get situated wherever you want, and you'll have the attention of the group.
Tawana, I think is how you pronounce his last name. I would like to hire him as our nighttime custodian. Matt actually he actually is living here in town for about a year. He comes to us from Texas originally. In Texas, he worked in the hotel industry, so he helped with maintenance, cleaning rooms, worked the front desk, pretty much did a plethora of everything. When he moved here to Nebraska, he's worked small jobs like Casey's, worked at Firehouse Sub, and was looking for something closer here to town because he lives here in town. His girlfriend is a para here, told him about the job, decided to apply, came in, is ready to get started. He is willing to get a CDL, so he's talked to Mike about what that process looked like, and he's actually here tonight. Him and Brian are cleaning up the gym. So
Sounds like you got him hired.
I think we're ready to
Kinda
go.
like Tessie is, right?
Francis,
Ready
I'll
to
tell you
go.
what, now, so I'll tell you the point on that, and when there's things to be done, we generally start that. We will never hire somebody without a background check.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do the background checks, and if they can't start until we get approval on
Yeah.
that, so.
It's kind of nice you give them a trial run before we actually recommend it.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, we actually had a lady hired about 2 weeks ago, and she came in, and about 3 days later, she turned in her card. It wasn't what she expected.
Yeah.
Yep. Again, it's the nighttime position. The building's awfully quiet at night. It just wasn't what she expected, so we knew.
But having a bonus of getting a CDL.
Yes,
Wow.
it's huge.
That's pretty cool.
What age, or I guess.
I'm guessing about 25 to 30.
Did he work at the bowling alley?
No, not, no.
Okay.
Here in town locally, Casey's is the one that he,
Okay.
but since then, he's been working in Fremont, and he just wanted to come back and work here in town. Didn't have to drive.
Do we usually have 2 night custodians up here?
Yeah, we did for a number of years, and then once we moved one to days, that position stayed open. So last year, I think it was probably March, we hired a gentleman by the name of Brett, who worked at night with Brian Cho, and Brett had some health issues and left us, and so it's been open since then. And we had this gal we had a couple days, and it didn't work out, so hopefully we'll have better luck this time.
So we need a motion to hire Matt, and I won't even.
Yeah,
Attempt his last name.
She can get the.
I'll get it
name
to Kirsten.
Kirsten for the minutes.
So moved.
Doug, motion, we need a second.
I'll second.
By Bob. Any discussion? Not start me, yes. Justin?
Yes.
Francis? Yes. Doug?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Yes, yeah, he's gonna go, his hours will be like from 1 to.
Thank you, Brenda.
And then we'll eventually be
I
already
guess we're ready for our presentation for superintendent search.
I don't need to be a part of this. This is work that you guys need to do with your search firm coming up, and I don't know Brenda and Tessie, I know we got activities going here. If you want to be a part of this, that's fine for them, but, I'm certainly not gonna be giving any recommendations of what for you to do,
I
so
understand.
I'm out of here.
We'll take their presentation and then tie you up a little bit.
Great.
Get out of here. All right.
Sounds good.
Guys want to step up, maybe introduce yourself and
Yep, we wanted to.
go from there.
Thank you very much for having us, and we're grateful to be here, and it's good to see all of you again. It was April, I think, the last time that I saw you, and you had the opportunity to work with Fred. Fred is detained tonight. It's with a new grandchild that is on the way, and so that is out of state, and that's where Fred really does need to be there. So we're hoping and keeping him in our thoughts. And as a stand-in, I was told that I could pick 3 guys, but Larry, Curly, and Mo were out. So I brought Jack Moles, our executive director. So I've got excellent help tonight. Yes, there you go. So Jack, I'll let you talk a little bit, and I'll get these handouts out. Do you have anything that you want to share, Jack?
No, I like getting out to this part of the searches. I don't do anything on the tail end.
Okay, thank you.
Because I always feel like the board needs to have somebody to come to if things don't go the way they would like them to. But I like being on the front end sometimes to get to meet the boards and see these guys in action a little bit. So I was glad when Rob asked me if I wanted to come up, I wanted to do that, so.
thanks for having me, and I used to come up here a lot for wrestling tournaments all the time. My son wrestles, so. At Johnson County Central, which is where Galen was. Galen took my place at Johnson County Central as interim, so. So is that enough rambling for?
It is, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. Well, again, we are very glad to be here. We have some things to talk through, with you tonight, and some decisions to make. We have some items to review of work that you've already done. And so with all of that being said, stop me at any time if you have any questions, or if I've gone too quickly or left anything out. And we'll go ahead and get started. And so what we want to do first, our assistant at the office does a great job, but we did print these front to back, and so they're not in very good order. So I'm just going to kind of guide you through the packet that I handed out to you. Want to take a look at the search summary process, which is the very back page of the document. Talk a little bit about that and about what you can expect as a board based on some of the decisions and things that you make tonight. So as you take a look at the search summary, we're in number one, the initial planning meeting. Some of the work, again, you've already done, and we'll be reviewing those notes. But the overall search process will be broken down into several phases. And tonight's initial planning meeting will be followed by a profile meeting if the board chooses to go that direction in terms of engagement with staff and community. That will be followed by a selection meeting, and that's also outlined for you there. And then determination of interview days and the actual conduct of the interviews and the interview process. So we really have 4 meetings that we'll be talking about tonight and getting the stage set to kind of make all of that unfold. Does that make sense? And so that's each time that we meet, a block of that comes off of the search summary, and next time we'll have only 3 items on there, and so on and so forth. So tonight in the initial meeting, there is a few things that we do want to talk about. And the first one is the engagement of the community and the faculty or the staff. And so this is a decision that you will need to make, and that is found on page 3 on the front. And it looks like this, and it is in fact called Engaging North Bend Central Schools Faculty, Staff, and Community. It has been our custom that most boards do wish to involve and therefore engage the process by having a committee structure that includes faculty and staff, and then also the use of some important stakeholders in the community. And so there's a couple of different ways to approach that. Usually, recommendation 2 is the use of advisory committees. We have not for several years had a lot of interest in surveys. So the first one there talks about community meetings and surveys. It just seems like the trend has been a little bit away from that, primarily because surveys can be difficult to manage in terms of the number of responses that any one person can give or generate. And so the data is not always as accurate as maybe you would want it to be. So I would say 95% of the boards the last couple of years that I've worked with have chosen option 2, which is to engage those 2 groups through the inclusion of them in the interview process, the selection of questions, and then actually being on site the day of the interviews. What that entails, if you would choose to go with the committee structure, is the formation of 2 committees. One would be a community or stakeholder committee, and it has been common practice for each board member to nominate tonight a couple of individuals and then reach general agreement as to who should participate in that process from the community. We'd like to see that be between somewhere 12 to 15 individuals that again are selected by the board. Now, when we talk about the committee structure and the use of those committees, it's really important to note that they are not making a recommendation to you at the end of the interview process. They are not even ranking the candidates at the end of the interview process. The committee structure that we use, they will report to you at the end of the interview day, and they will give you information that discusses the strengths of each candidate, the weaknesses or areas of improvement for each candidate, and then a leadership assessment for each of those candidates. And so if you have 4, you would have a report that would break those 4 candidates down into those 3 areas. The same would be true of the staff committee. It's been very common practice for the staff committees to be chosen in this manner. We would typically ask for 3 elementary staff from the elementary principal, 3 from the high school, and then we would ask to meet and visit briefly, if you would, with the bargaining unit and have them select 3 at-large members. So that puts us at 9, and then we work again with the principals and administrative team to choose up to 6 classified staff, and that puts us at a committee of 15. So a faculty staff group of about 15 and a stakeholder group of about 15. It's worked very well for us. I think it also provides some ownership for them in terms of the ability to participate in the process. And I think it's a major factor in the overall success of the candidate, because they were a part of that process. So along with that, we do also look at some hosts for community tours. Sometimes when we work with the administrative team, they like to do some of the tours of the schools and those facilities, and then conduct some of their interview during that block of time. It makes for a very nice conversation when you're looking at your facilities and your buildings. We also like to have a community tour, and we can talk a little bit about that. Again, maybe some stakeholders or some other folks within the staff that would like to jump in that van and get those folks around to the important places in the communities, what kind of facilities there are here, what businesses there are, what houses might be available. That's a really nice part of the process for the candidates and for their spouses. It's always been a very positive piece. And then we set up an interview day based on your selection. The norm is 4 or so candidates. That is probably the most common, because it does make for a much easier round robin with the groups that we have mentioned. We like to involve students as well, students as greeters. One of the things that we will set up for you working with your administrators are some homerooms for each of the candidates, and student greeters and students that are assigned to those candidates to move them throughout the day to the places that they are supposed to be based on the interview schedule. So those are just some thoughts about that and about that process. And I guess I'd like to hear from you before we move on as to what your thoughts are for that. Would you like to engage in community and staff involvement? And if so, are those methods acceptable, and how would you like to have that look?
I guess what would be the other option? I guess I haven't known it any other way than involving.
Yeah, it's not common, but there are some that just don't do that, and the process is all contingent upon the Board of Education. In the end, you'll be making that decision, no matter which direction that you go, because the reports that come to you, again, they're not recommendations. So there's no inherent problems in doing it that way. I think it's an excellent move, again, towards involving those people that are important and they have some ownership in the process. I have not, for probably 3 or more years, had anybody not choose to involve committee work.
We did have one, actually this year, decided not to do a committee. They're still gonna have a staff committee. So that was a little bit different to me.
Thoughts, Case?
We've always done it that way, and I think it works very well to have a community and staff, and I think that works out real good. Gets them involved and get some good feedback from them, candidates. around than we do.
Well, you don't have to worry about secondhand information. You've got people that are there that are actually involved in the process, and they're gonna have firsthand information.
Well, and the principals pump them pretty good when they're taking them around, and giving them tours. We get some good info.
Those are good conversations. That's
Yeah.
for sure. They definitely are. Sounds like that's maybe the direction that we would like to go.
Community involvement, I think.
Then,
is-
if we've reached general agreement on that, if it's okay, Dan, I'd like to just go around the room and get a nominee from each, board member, and then go right back around and get the second one, and then we'll pick three alternates, just in case.
Would it, I mean, I'm not prepared.
I'm not either.
Okay, that's all right, that's all right.
I
Sometimes.
haven't even really thought about that. I guess we should have before we came.
No, that is okay. So it would be.
Because I want to ask them before I recommend them, because they might not want to.
I completely understand that, and I was going to say that we would have to come back and get email addresses and some things like that as well. So, would it be acceptable to have the group submit those to you, Dan, and then we can visit by email or phone then?
Yeah.
Is Friday, Friday morning enough time for everybody?
What do you guys think?
Should be.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
And you would like 2 people or 3 people?
Let's just go 3. And then the other thing that we'll do for you is we will create a template, and we'll work with your staffs and create those invitation letters. So I'll communicate those invitations electronically, and then a signed letter will also arrive from you in the mail to each of those committee members, which is a nice touch as well. So
This is one of the things we're talking about with Fred too. We've got candidates for the board here. Is it appropriate to include them on that community committee? So we can include their names in that list?
I think it is, and that's on one of my key questions, the note that is in there. I think it's very appropriate, and that isn't a problem at all. As a matter of fact, it's customary to do that, and most boards do engage in that.
I sort of erased them already from the list of potential that are going to be on the board.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to be.
Well, and there's 2 ways to approach it. So, if you wait till after the election, based on the timeline, the candidates that emerge from the election could be involved on that interview day in terms of sitting in and listening to their responses and so on, or they could be invited right now and be a part of the committee structure. So that's completely up to you.
So would they be part of the 15 or extra?
You have how many candidates?
6.
I would say that we should probably, if we're including them in the committee, let's do 2 nominations each, and then those 6, and that would put us at 18, and that's a perfect number to work with, if that's acceptable to the board.
I guess can we almost ask you guys, are you willing to want to sit on the committee? Can you give us an answer today if you have? Yep. Yeah. How about you guys?
Yep, sure.
Yep. Okay.
The pay is excellent.
Yeah.
It never changes.
It doesn't.
This is being recorded, just so you
Oh, okay.
Who are we missing?
Franklin Beck. Yeah, we'll have to reach out.
So, we gotta get you 2 then.
2, yeah.
Sounds good. And so we'll work on the template, and we'll get that over here to Galen and his staff so that it's ready for you to sign. As soon as we get the names, we'll fill that in and we'll go from there. Is it acceptable to the board then that we work with your building administrators on the nominees for the staff? Is that agreeable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we'll be in touch then with you ladies as well, if that's okay. Awesome, that sounds great. Okay, so that will move forward then. So let's take a look at then the timeline. And the timeline that's proposed is on page 4 on the back. And it looks like this. And let's see how that fits your schedule. And ladies, we do need some input from you as well because of any potential activities or any problems that you might see. And so obviously we sort of have a template too that we work with based on tonight's meeting and moving forward. And what we are proposing is to wrap up some of the things that we'll discuss tonight, so that 1 week from today, we'll be able to push out the vacancy announcement to all of the folks that are on our list, and we'll talk a little bit about getting the word out here in just a moment. We could, if you choose, to submit this to print. We'll talk about that as well on the 22nd. If you do elect to go to print, it would run from Sunday, September 25th through October 26th. Our next meetings would be October 10th, and that's a fairly short meeting for the board. It's a longer meeting for the staff and the community. And typically we would meet with your staff, ladies, right away at the end of the day so that we can capture them before anybody leaves. And about an hour after that, the letters would indicate the meeting time and place for members of the community and the stakeholders group.
So the 10th is a regular board meeting night?
Is that okay?
I don't know. How would that work out?
We said it was short.
It was short, but then we could still conduct a regular meeting?
We can meet with them after our regular meeting like we did tonight.
Would that work?
You could, or before. Sometimes we go 4, 5, 6, with the board at 6. And is your meeting at 7?
7:30.
Well, we're gonna have.
We had just set up something else.
We got the facilities walk around at 6:30.
Oh, sure.
So.
Well, if you've got a short one, you might be able to go at 6 and then walk around, if that would work.
We can keep it to about 30 minutes. The second meeting is fairly short for you as a board. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we can talk about that if that's, you can check your schedules.
You guys okay with starting at 6? I know we're gonna be getting into harvest here.
Mm-hmm.
You rolling for sure by then.
I think I'll be in Tennessee. Probably won't be.
And if you'd like to go later, that's fine. That's completely up to you.
It's up to you guys, 30 minutes.
Or we can go on the 11th, Tuesday the 11th.
I don't think we'd wanna do another night, we'd rather keep one night.
Sure.
That we're here, we can do all.
Do it
up.
at 6.
If it's not that long, let's just go after, we're gonna be out here. The agenda won't be that deep.
Go after.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, after.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
I think Galen can coordinate that with you if it's 8:30
Absolutely.
again. I mean, I think that worked okay.
Yeah, he was very helpful with the timing tonight, and we'll be a little early, of course. And that sets us up for an application deadline of October 28th. So we will handle all of the things that are mentioned here on the timeline for you, and then we'll be putting a cutoff date for applications at that time. We would meet again on Monday, November 7th. Now, I would note that is the first Monday of November. And that would set you up for a Saturday, proposed Saturday, November 12th interview. That Monday meeting of finalist selection is a long meeting. And so it would be one that you would want to probably separate in some form or fashion from your regular meeting anyway, because it will take us quite a bit of time to review, present, and go through those candidates. And then the interviews can be done a couple of different ways. Again, the most common method is round robin on a Saturday with all of the candidates and committees here at one place, one meeting and one time. It works works well for the candidates, it works well for the committees, because the alternative is to go 2 candidates on one night and 2 candidates on another night. One of the things we stress to the committees is that it's really critical, if you make a commitment to the process, that you be here for all of the process, including all of the interviews. That splitting into a couple of nights sometimes causes problems for those folks that are on your committee. That's really the only problem, other than you also have to be up here twice instead of once. So that's another decision that's really up to you. Again, the single day is the most common method that we've had in the last couple of years.
And when do we need to decide that?
Well, if we are going to put out the timeline and the announcement of the vacancy announcement, all of these kind of things kind of tie in together. So it would be best if we could agree on the timeline tonight.
If you look at the 2 nights, you probably would want to slide that a day, I would think, right? Because that's your second Monday of the month.
Yeah.
So you probably want to go maybe Tuesday, Wednesday.
You rather guys go on a Saturday, go one day?
Yeah, I would.
That's what
We've done that in the
thinking
past,
one
and I
day.
think it works best.
Logistically, I think that makes the most sense
Yeah.
to be able to. Okay,
Would it
we'll
be easier a week later even, to harvest, I think?
Well, I'll be gone 13th, 14th, and 15th to Washington.
I will say probably the worst chewing I ever got, I had a conference in Kearney that I scheduled on that Saturday. And I had 4 ladies come up to me and bawl me out because it was the opening day of deer season.
Is there any activities November 12th?
I don't see anything.
I won't be here.
You can't be here in November
I'm
12th.
going.
He should be here. So,
Yeah.
I can do the 19th, but I don't know how that figures in.
anything on the 19th?
That's, winter sports starts the 14th, so I'm assuming nothing sports related. And that's normally what our activities would be. I'm checking on the state press.
Is the 19th getting a little late?
I don't think so. I don't. I don't think so.
And that's just practices for the winter sports.
Winter sports starts the 14th, so there won't be any games
No
the
games
first,
until
yeah.
December.
I'm
Very
looking,
good.
I don't have anything, I don't know if everything's on the, like the jamboree stuff, that's a little
Yeah.
flexible, because it's not an actual contest.
Sure.
So I don't know if that's on here yet or not.
The 19th?
Yeah.
As far as I know.
I just know it was always kind of a struggle to get to this conference, just right at the tail end of
Kind
harvest
of
too.
wrapping
Yeah,
stuff
so
up.
that's a similar date.
I think it's that week.
Is your conference that week?
That
Yeah,
week,
16th, 17th, 18th.
16, 17.
It doesn't really conflict if you're doing it on Saturday,
I sound like the 19th is gonna be a little better for everybody's schedule. Doug can't be here on the 12th, and you guys have a better chance of
but later, typically.
being, because the next weekend is Thanksgiving already.
Well, should we shoot for the 19th?
Sure.
I think that's one of the
And
big ones.
probably keep, because of everyone's schedule, keep our selection meeting on the 7th, right? Is that what I hear you saying? And then the interview meeting would go to Saturday, the 19th.
So
Perfect.
what does that do with the 21st then? That's still,
As far as the application deadline?
the November 21st,
Selection, and
the last,
Do you
you're
push that
actually gonna
back a
select
week
the
then,
person
or-
that night, so, the 19th.
okay.
But you have to make offers and all that.
Oh, I see, on November.
Yeah,
All right, so that really doesn't,
you can still do that and have it, have it advertised to meet that night to formally extend the contract, right?
You could.
Yeah.
You could also, make that contract offer and then, do that on December 12th.
Right.
I mean, That could be fine as well.
So what's that What's the
Make the
schedule?
contract offer, but then just have our normal meeting.
On the 12th to ratify.
What's the day of the interview process look like? What time's that start? What are the blocks? How are the blocks set up during that day? And will there be time at the end of the day? What will we feel like it? I mean, I know I'll be gassed.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the day?
Yeah.
Well, don't overdo it Friday night at the conference now, is that what you're saying?
Friday's recovery.
Okay, recovery day, okay. No, we would typically say that Fred and I would be on site at about 7:30. And we would typically bring candidates in and ask them to report around 8:15, 8:30. And then the process would begin formally, around 9 o'clock. So sometimes we say that and there's some tours in there, and it just kind of depends on how the schedule plays out. If we started between 8 and 9 o'clock, or interviews round 1 and 9 o'clock, the best way that we have found is to do 2 interviews and then stop and have a lunch. And so we'll be visiting with Galen and the staff about putting that together. We do a common lunch in which everybody has a chance to interact and visit and meet committee members, everybody. And then we go back and finish off the other 2 interviews and the report. So you would probably be done and ready to be out of here before 4:15, It just depends on how long the reports take. Okay, very good. So do you want us to adjust that Monday, November 21st, that selection? You want us to put December 5th? Or December 12th board meeting? You want us to put that? We'll just adjust that. Now that it's going to be in stone. Okay. Very good. So, moving along. Key questions, and you've done some of this work already. And so we just need to go through that item, and those are in your packet. I'm sorry, those are not in your packet. These are just some notes that Fred shared with me. And so if it's okay, I will just very quickly go through these 13 questions with you. We already know who the district's lead person is, and Dan, you've been contacting both Fred and I. We have your cell number. We'll insert Galen into that only as the intermediary to the clerical staff, so that everything is getting typed up, printed, and ready to go. And then Brenda will be in contact with you. Tessie will be in contact with you. And Kirsten will be in contact with you as well. So when we start to get names for committee members and staff members, we'll just set up a Google Doc, and you and I can work back and forth and make sure that we're all on the same page. And we'll go from there. And then, are you going to sit on the interviews for this process? Okay, very good. And is it okay with you if we do include Galen in these clerical conversations about, the letters and things of that nature? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Board secretary, we got that. Do you, ladies, I don't mean to put you on the spot, do you anticipate any internal candidates, any changes based on the conversation that we had in May?
Haven't heard anything.
Okay. It only changes how we do the committee selection, so that's fine. We said yes to the advisory groups. We said yes to interviewing everybody on one day, all at one time, round robin. In the interim superintendent search, you elected not to pay mileage to the candidates. Is that still your decision for this group?
Yeah, I mean, with this.
No change then?
No change.
Okay, no problem. Let's see. We will do a contract analysis for you, and we will bring that to a subsequent meeting with only some suggestions, keeping in mind that we cannot offer legal advice, but we can point out some areas to you that you may want to contact your legal counsel and take a look at those. So that's a part of the process. And so we will bring that analysis with us at a subsequent meeting. Will the superintendent be expected to live in the district?
Is it legal to even make them, is it legal to require?
That's the only one that you can.
Huh, okay.
Yes. Oh, there, I did it. I just blew it. I just made a legal determination. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. But no, I know that from my contract.
I'd say yes, I don't know.
We preferred it last time because there's so much going on that it just even seems like they're involved with the community and they're here and part of it. I mean, you guys got any other thoughts about that?
There'd probably have to be a grace period.
Yeah.
Housing market's not real
Yeah.
buyers friendly right now.
Yeah. And we can talk about that in the contract analysis. It's not uncommon to say within 12 months, within 6 months.
Certainly they gotta either build a house or find a house or got something that makes sense.
I know one will be for sale, but
Yeah.
fire moved out.
You gotta move out.
I know.
Yeah.
You know how long it takes to get 42 years of accumulation moved to Bauer?
I do.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it is not.
It takes a lot of fires. But you can't burn in
Say that right
town,
now.
so
Yeah.
bring it out to my
Say that
place.
right
I already filled one dumpster.
A lot of mileage to Goodwill.
You kept your 8-track player though, right?
I did keep my 8-track.
All right. Now, you had identified these as important duties for the interim. So my question to you is, are these changing? You had identified community relations, oversight of the elementary building project, building trust, and getting the staff to work together. Do you wish to continue those as priorities?
Elementary building project will be completed.
Okay. Would you add anything then to community relations, building trust, and getting staff to work together? It's not uncommon to have a fiscal management piece in there, you know, in terms of a budget priority or fiscal consistency, or, you know.
Certainly would be helpful to have some kind of budget.
Experience.
Okay. Good. Anything else?
Well, you could, I mean, you could have all kinds of stuff on the list on there, really. How do you narrow that down or prioritize that, or what's?
Well, it's in terms of the priorities, it's not one of the key issues that we've already identified. But these are, when a candidate looks at some of the profile sheets that we will put together for them, this will help them. This will help them know what you want them to study, so that when they are here talking to you, they are prepared. So if you put finances on here and somebody comes in and doesn't have a clue what your levy is, well, you know. But on the other hand, they'll probably come in really well prepared and have a 10-year history and flip charts if you want to see them. So it's just a good idea for us to give them some guidance so that they can prep a little bit and know where the board's priorities are. Yeah, and those are good ones. There's not a darn thing wrong with that. Let's see, we'll talk about that. We don't have any unique circumstances other than you noted the election year, and we've kind of taken care of that on your behalf this evening by including those important folks that are candidates. So, good. Anything else from key questions that you would change? Those are all things that we did in May for Brandon. Okay, then you also had some profile data that is in your packet. And so if you take a look at pages with some yellow highlighting, Fred had done some highlighting work there for you. They say North Bend Central Board Profile Worksheet. So from that profile worksheet, you identified 3 key issues that will go on the vacancy announcement. But is there anything that as you look at the list, let's start with the list of greatest strengths, that has changed since the time that you last met?
Well, like Bob said, the only other one that won't be critical anymore is the elementary, that highlighted one.
The construction and the remodel?
Yeah.
Okay, so that should be
Should
done. You can take that off. Hopefully, right? Who is your guy?
You
on
could,
site
you
here?
could put something towards like identifying future.
No, Debbie is the one that showed up to
We had Roggy for our elementary, too.
Oh.
7 or 8 rooms. So we'll remove the construction and the remodel, and then the rest of these look okay to you in terms of your profile. So when we meet with your committees, the faculty group will also have a profile list like this, and the community group will have a profile list like this. These are the documents that will also be going to the candidates, so that they can see where those priorities are and the key areas for each of those 3 questions. Okay?
Now, I have a question. This is on number 2, where it says maintaining or growing facilities. Does that mean adapting to increasing enrollment?
If I were reading that, I would interpret that you want somebody that makes maintenance of existing facilities a priority, and then somebody that has at least some knowledge of how to maybe grow those for future use. That's how I would interpret it.
So you do, as you interpret that, that would include if we have an increase in enrollment, that maintaining and growing facilities would include that.
That's how I would if I were a
Okay,
candidate
that's
for
fine.
you. Mhm.
Okay, good.
Yes. Good question. Okay, very good. So let's see here. Okay, let's look at the draft vacancy announcement, which is, let's see, on the back of page 4. And it looks like this. Now, this is an updated version in terms of some of the dates and things that you had worked with in May. And so we're going to change, first of all, about midway down on the right, you'll see the tentative interview date. That will be changed from the 12th to the 19th. Up at the top, those numbers will not have changed because we use statistical data in the spring, and so that statistical data will not be updated officially until November. So we should probably stay with those, and the fact that you're still working through the budget process, we should stay with the documented pieces that we have here, and so that is completely fine. Candidates will understand that this will be changing in November or December. Now, you listed strengths. You listed 4: financially sound school district, excellent teachers, principals, and support staff, blue ribbon school with high achieving students, and great location with outstanding facilities. I think those are outstanding. Do you have any changes, or is there anything you would like to move or amend?
Oh, that's fine.
Looks good. I thought it looked really good. Yeah. Key issues, you listed the hiring and retaining of quality staff members in a competitive environment, supervising construction, remodel of the elementary facilities, and continuing to build on goals of enhancing a positive future. So does that second one need to be edited to probably change that to something? So if we jump back to the sheet that has the yellow highlighting on it, is there any other area of concern, because we highlighted those 3, that you would like us to move over into this vacancy announcement, into that spot? And you do have some other, some other options here.
How about, I don't know, just suggestion, continue to give students safe and positive educational experience. Cap, you
That's
good?
what I was looking at.
That's a good one. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to adjust then below that, the interview date. We're going to adjust the anticipated hire date to December, what was that? The 12th. Thank you, Nick. December 12th. And then application procedure and all of those other things should be fine. Okay?
Yeah, this AOB will go out all over, but we do put it out on Facebook, Twitter, and then we'll go out to whoever else you like,
Yep.
colleges and different groups like that, so.
Yes, exactly. And so that really is the next piece of the topic. Page 5, the front, getting the word out for North Bend Central Schools. It looks like this. And really it is the next important decision that you have to make as a board. So here's what we do that is an automatic part of our process. So we are going to distribute the vacancy announcement. It is the job of Fred and myself to distribute this in that one that says first, to distribute this to all of the contacts we have through NERCSA. So this will go to college, faculty, university, faculty, alumni of the superintendent training programs, the emerging administrator members and workshops. And so that is the piece that Fred and I will work on. And we do work with neighboring states as well. And we'll be putting this announcement out to them. That's part of our job. The second part of this is NERCSA's job. This is where Jack and Jeff come in. They will be distributing this through a variety of media web sources. So the NERCSA website, the NERCSA Facebook and Twitter accounts, Teach in Nebraska, the NREA job board, Handshake, which was formerly Husker Hire, NCSA is a good partner for us, schoolsuperintendentjobs.com. It will be emailed from NERCSA to all of the member schools and ESUs, all of the NERCSA superintendents and ESU administrators, NERCSA principals, as well as NERCSA-sized schools and ESUs that may not be members. Educational administration departments are part of what Fred and I will do as well. And then, of course, all of our networks and colleagues throughout the state and throughout the region. So those are all of the things that are automatically going to happen for you on the day that we said that we're going to push that out. The decision that you have is, would you like to devise a paid advertisement or paid media strategy that would include the main outlet here in eastern Nebraska, which is the Omaha World Herald. So that can be print. It can also be or OmahaWorldHeraldJobs.com online. Some people still choose that 3-week Sunday placement. The cost for 12-line descriptive, the sample is below, for 3 Sundays is about $725. The 30-day online ad only is $405, and all of those prices, of course, are subject to change. If you wanted to, you could add the Grand Island Independent, the Kearney Hub, and the North Platte Telegraph, just to name a few. So those are some options that are available to you. I think you'll probably say, Rob, what's the most common? And Jack, what's the most common?
About 50-50.
It really is. And I think, Jack, I don't want to speak for you, but what I think I hear you saying is 50-50, meaning everything that we do plus some type of a paid component from you whether that's just the online Omaha jobs piece. Some schools have drifted away from the print part of that. Simply asking the question, how many people still do receive, that information in print? So that's really a decision that is up to you and as a board, and how you would like to handle that.
Do you feel we had some advantage of looking for an interim, because the word got out there? Because I would think somebody say, oh, they're hiring an interim, that means they're going to be looking for a full-time superintendent soon. Advertising has been out there.
What did you do when you did that interim search? Did you do print, or did you just do the online?
We did it all online.
Online,
Yeah, just
all
online.
online.
Yeah.
Okay, and you had a pretty good response. So, yes. So obviously the word is out there based on everything that we've already pushed out. They know that there's an interim here. What they don't, so they'll be watching. What they don't know is what that contract looked like. Sometimes there's an interim in place for 2 years. Sometimes it's 1 year. So, but they'll certainly be watching. That I don't have any doubt about that. And I would say you're spot on. The last couple of schools that I've worked with have just stayed with the online component, but they were a little bit more remote, because those folks would respond to me and say, we don't even get that paper in our town. Now you might be different. You might still have a delivery of a Sunday paper. A lot of those communities do not. But that's...
Do you, like Brent did, or Jesse, where people look, or do they look online? Do they look in the paper? Do you have any thoughts?
Am I looking online?
Yeah, online.
How many of you actually did it?
What if you do both? What's the combination?
Eagle.
Online costs
The guy at me tries to give them
$7.25.
away and can't.
Well, that's both, and then just online is 405.
But if you do, cost for a 12-line descriptive ad for 3 Sundays and 30 days is $7.25.
30 days online, 3 Sundays print, right?
Yeah. And if you just do the 30-day online, I think, it's
It's
405.
405.
So you can do
That's
print
not much
and
just to
online
get a
for
few
$7.
people who might see it in print.
So what kind of numbers have you been experiencing, maybe, I don't know if that's the right word or not, from searches last year? I mean, what kind of numbers should we expect?
I would say the 2 predominant factors that impact this are, 1, the timing of the search, and you're early, so that's a plus. Number 2, it's your location, and your location is excellent compared to someplace, let's say, west of Kearney. So that's a plus for you. So what you're really weighing is, what are people going to see for everything that we push out? How much of that's going to get there? Go ahead.
I looked at a couple that we did last year that I would kind of put you in the same boat as them, as far as location, size, timing, and they were over 10. I guess I would say. I would expect you would be over 10.
We had 12 or 13 for the interim.
Yeah.
So is that, I mean,
We
is
had
that a lot for
one
interim?
last year that I think had 19 and ended up with about 16 of those were actual candidates.
Okay.
A couple of them pulled out. I mean, I'd hate to say that's what you're gonna get, but it would not surprise me if that's what you got. So that's why I'm saying I'm trying to be conservative by saying over 10.
Yeah.
But I think you're gonna have a good pool,
Yeah.
I think.
I could see about 20.
You guys I think you guys know what you're thought of outside of North Bend. You really are thought well of outside of North Bend. You're gonna have, I think you're gonna have a good pool.
It's a nice place for someone to be. Let me just say it like that. You'll do really well no matter what you do. It's just a matter of, I think the only advantage to you or to anybody in this day and age where you don't have those papers being thrown up on the front porches in Atkinson and Mitchell anymore, right? They're not getting that World Herald. The only advantage that this brings to you is that it does get to them online, because many of them will read it that way because that's now their only option. And I do see some advantage online. Again, to reaching out to those mid-level administrators in larger school systems, maybe in the metro area, because again, they're going to scan that, and they're probably of a generation that doesn't take the newspaper. But it's really up to you.
I'd be online.
Yeah, me too.
I think you get more bang for the buck, you could advertise in another one of those papers. You still spend about the same money, but you get more.
Do it online here and then maybe in central Nebraska is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Do the World Herald online and then
Do online at
Kearney
Grand
or
Island
wherever.
or Kearney or.
Yeah,
You're
'cause
still
I would
gonna
s-
spend about $725 if you did that, probably.
I would say it's probably more likely more people would read the Grand Island Independent or the Kearney Hub than out there than the World Herald. So you're right, I think that's a good idea.
Kearney Hub's got a really good
Yeah,
spread out there.
yeah,
And with the university being there,
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I think just do 2 online, pick one of those and go for it.
So World Herald online,
Yeah.
and that is the 405, 30 days online. And then your choice, Kearney Hub
Like
or
the Hub.
the Hub,
Yeah.
Kearney Hub online.
What do you want Endorf to read?
Didn't even think about that.
Okay, so we will take care of that, and we will get the word out.
He's not gonna read it.
Okay, comparable schools list, page 2 on the back. This is another service that we provide for you, and this may not look exactly the way you want it to, so that's why we're having this conversation. So I did 2 things with this comparable list. I took the 10, or let's see, 1, 2, 3. I took the 6 schools based on Nebraska Department of Education data, 6 next smaller schools to you, and I took the 6 next set of larger schools to you. So you're at the midpoint with an enrollment of 596. And then the smaller districts, and it looks like I got a typo in here somewhere. Nonetheless, so the next closest school districts, I'll have to look at whether I got that number. Battle Creek, Ord, Gordon, Rushville, Logan View, Winnebago, Fillmore Central. And then going up, Boone Central, Valentine, Mitchell, Wilbur Claytonia, Palmyra District R1, and Chase County. And so when you look at that, you might say, listen, Gordon Rushville is probably not going to impact a lot of, what we do here in terms of salary. So I also took, I believe I filled out the closest schools to your enrollment from your conference, and you can tell me if I made a mistake. But so down on the bottom, I put the enrollment for West Point, Beamer, Madison, Tacoma, Herman, Wisner, Pilger, Twin River, Pender, Oakland, Craig, and Stanton. And so what we like to do for you to come up with, we will do the array for you, but we would like you to choose 5 schools that are smaller than you and 5 schools that are larger than you, that you would say, these are the 10 that we really want to be compared to, so that when we look at our salary, our benefits, insurance, et cetera, this is who we should be comparing ourselves to.
This is a question for the negotiations committee. What does your comparability array look like when you did negotiations with teachers?
So Cedar Bluffs was on there,
West Point, so.
West Point, Wahoo.
So should we include those if we're using those in our?
You probably did the 50-mile radius is how you got
Correct.
those in there, yeah.
Do we
So-
have Lakeview on there too?
Yep.
Right, so what they do, your bargaining unit, they will take North Bend in the center and have a concentric circle within that radius. That's what determines,
But what I'm saying is if we're comparing that salary group, I mean, do we extend it how much difference does geography make in this process?
I think geography is probably less important than finding the schools that are the closest to your enrollment in terms of comparability. So when I say that, if you were to compare, let's say, to a school that has an enrollment that's less than half of yours, and you look at what that superintendent's getting paid, unfortunately, it's gonna skew your data. It's gonna make it look lower, is what it will do. So I mean, that's completely up to you.
So the other thing was, didn't one of our arrays for the teachers was different than the array for the administrators when we did that? They weren't all exactly the same.
Yeah, based on the email that I got from Fred, which came from Galen, they are different arrays.
Yeah,
Your
that's what I thought.
superintendent was more focused on your conference schools.
Yep.
Yeah, because we had West Point Beamer in there, and
Yeah.
we had Scribner Snyder in there, and
What are,
Tacoma, Logan View,
I think we should use the same for our
We have
teachers
those.
and our schools.
so I would say like Wahoo, comparable geography as far as location goes. I'm just looking at, when you talk about, okay, Ord, Gordon, Rushville,
Yeah,
those are
just-
long ways.
Yeah, we
those are-
Right, so you're better off with the Wahoo at West Point.
those
And
top
Winnebago
ones,
is
those
a
top
different
ones,
thing.
except for Logan View, we wouldn't even put them in our array. Logan View would be the only one out of there.
That's amazing that that's their enrollment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think
think
that's
that's a
typo.
typo, isn't it?
Yeah,
They
has-
can't be 257.
I'm very certain Ward's is bigger than
Surprised
that.
we didn't.
Yeah.
They're probably 555.
I would
So
say
can
they're
we do that,
557.
50-mile
Logan
radius?
View
I
probably.
mean, is that
I would-
your thought, or?
My
What are your
thought
guys'
would
thought?
be that you would focus on the two factors that are geography and your conference schools, your conference affiliation. Jack, is that?
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah, that's what I
Just
would
to
say, too.
stay away from skewing the data, too much, because if you bring somebody in and you've used a non-conference school like Cedar Bluffs, then it's really gonna skew the data.
Well, even those bottom ones, we moved Chase County, Palmyra, Wilbur, Claytonia, Mitchell, Valentine, Boone Central. We wouldn't, usually they wouldn't be in our array either, so.
We've always been, I think we still are, the most southerly of our conference.
Our
schools.
others would be the ones that were usually in our array.
So are you going to use the others down here too, or can we pick out of these?
You can pick any that you wish. This is just a list that I put
Yeah.
together and apparently skewed some numbers somehow. I'm still trying to figure out how that, when I tagged, what it did.
Because
Nonetheless, yes, so if you're more comfortable, with those conference schools and including Logan View or, somebody that's much closer, that's completely up to you.
West Point could go in the bottom list, because it's bigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could include it, couldn't we?
Yes.
Makes sense.
yeah, we always usually kick them out
I
because
know.
usually they're the highest, so.
But still, it's,
They're usually the first one to go out, and then the lowest one's usually, who is the, is
Well, when we looked at determining salaries too, we only
Yeah.
compared to conference schools.
that's what I'm saying, is that
Yeah.
we never use these other schools. We usually use, like I said, Scribner Snyder was in there. I'll give you
West Point would be all right.
What Galen shared with Fred was,
maybe
they used the conference schools for the array, and then he went on to list those schools, some of which are on here. So but they included Bancroft, Clarkson Lee, Howells Dodge.
Yeah,
Those are all
And
conference schools now.
So,
And then if you
We've
go
added them to
south,
conference.
would be Raymond Central, it'd be, Wahoo's a little
Raymond
bit
was
big.
always on
Yeah.
there.
Raymond. And I'm sure Wahoo was on there.
Yep.
They're a little big though.
Wahoo's quite a bit bigger than we
Yeah, Wahoo Newman maybe, I don't know.
Well, they're not public, though.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right, they would be.
That would kill you.
But Wahoo would,
The array killer.
although I
was
think
on
they
there.
only have 10
Lakeview
people out for
would be
football.
comparable.
Yeah.
Wahoo.
Columbus Lakeview was on
It's-
that one array.
It's not good. Oh, yeah, it's bad.
Tacoma should be in there, gets
Yeah.
Yeah, they're right there.
You know,
Raymond Central.
our area.
Did we have,
Was Arlington on
Sounds
there,
like
right?
just conference
No.
No,
like we've been.
they would be very comparable, that's what I think.
they would be comparable, wouldn't they?
I would think
Yeah,
they're not a
Arlington.
conference school, but I think size-wise, they're probably
Yeah.
comparable.
Who's that, Arlington?
Arlington.
Arlington.
David City High might be pretty
Yeah.
comparable.
Geography too, still.
Right,
'cause you
you're
want-
still
you want
within the
that-
vicinity.
Well, yeah, you're looking at, you know,
the like
proximity to Omaha and Lincoln as
Did
well.
we ever have like Columbus Lakeview or any of those?
Lakeview was on there.
Lakeview is on there, that'd be a good, that's,
Yeah.
Columbus Lakeview.
Yeah.
they'd be probably higher enrollment.
I think they'd be
than us,
higher
wouldn't they?
enrollment,
Right.
yeah,
But they were on there for the teachers.
yeah.
What if you, if you look at below your size, so if you look at the list that Rob has here, if you went Battle Creek, Takema Herman in place of Ward, Madison in place of Gordon Rushville, Logan View, I think is probably, that might be.
Okay.
They're
Yeah,
probably
you'll get-
557.
They're 5. There,
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't,
No,
I
'cause
think
they're
it's a
getting-
different.
And Fillmore Central, I wouldn't keep them in there
Dynamic,
either.
yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah, too.
And what, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Not Fillmore
And
Central
Fillmore
either.
at Geneva, so you
They're
need to
way
come up
out
with maybe
west.
2 there, or, you know,
We'll put in
Let's see.
Lakeview.
Lakeview.
but if you,
But
well,
they'd be big.
what I'm saying is, if
Yeah,
you
that
go,
would be bigger.
now if you go to the bigger group,
Yeah.
keep Boone in there, Raymond Central instead of Valentine,
Be a good idea.
Lakeview instead of Mitchell, Arlington instead of Wilbur Claytonia, Wisner Pilgrim instead of Chase County,
I think-
or I'm sorry, West Point
Yeah,
instead of
West Point,
Chase County.
Yeah.
And then decide what to do with Palmyra.
Raymond Central, did you?
He said.
Yeah.
Yeah, have them in place of.
Who else would there be down
You wanna put
south?
David City in there? I don't know if they're
David
bigger or not.
I don't know if Ashland Green would be bigger,
They're-
I know they're growing.
Yeah, I think Ashland and Greenwood would probably
They're
be
David
bigger
City
because
would
they're
be
Or you
smaller.
could-
They're
or you could do-
C1
Or you could do
in
Wahoo,
football.
Who's that?
because they'd be bigger.
Ashland Greenwood.
Yeah.
So we're C2.
Right.
Fort Calhoun.
All four
Yeah,
counties.
that's right, Fort Calhoun too would be in. They used to be in, we used to play them all the time.
Yeah, we used to play them. They would probably be bigger than us.
Valparaiso, who's down that way?
Raymond.
They're with Raymond Central.
That would suit
Malcolm
Raymond
is
Central.
probably smaller.
Malcolm would be smaller.
Well,
Malcolm,
they've been in our.
Malcolm would be,
Yeah.
We haven't-
Actually, Malcolm
Might
probably
be
is
comparable.
very comparable
They're gonna be
size.
yeah, I would say
I'd say
so.
they're
They're gonna
really
be really
close.
close to you.
Yeah.
They could be one of those, you put them as one of the smaller ones in
Or-
place of
or-
Winnebago
Or
or Phil.
Milford.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
played Milford this last weekend, I'm guessing they're probably pretty comparable.
Malcolm would be closer is the only thing.
Yeah.
So we need, so we went Battle Creek, these are smaller, Battle Creek, Takema, Herman, Madison, Logan View, Malcolm. And we need, that's probably.
We wouldn't
Yeah,
put
Takema
Battle
in there
Creek
too,
in
or
there.
you were
Yeah,
thinking.
it came out.
You do not wish to
No, we
have
would
Battle
put
Creek.
Battle Creek in there. Who would we replace them with?
You could put David City in there if they're smaller.
Yeah. it's
Is
not-
Pender in your conference?
Yeah,
They're quite
Can
a
we
bit
go with
smaller.
Pender?
Yeah. that would work.
And David City in place of Fillmore then?
Would David City be, they'd be pretty good size, wouldn't they? Or because of the parochial school, maybe they're a little smaller?
With the parochial there.
Okay,
We'll have to look on the side.
so they'd be real comparable then.
Yeah, probably just a little bit smaller, probably more like the Logan View size.
Because Wahoo is in Class B, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
In some activities, yeah.
Yeah,
they wouldn't, they'd be a little bit too big for us, or bigger.
for their array,
I think track they ran C still, but
yeah. Could be.
been kind of a borderline B in some of the other things.
U-10 was really close.
Newton.
U-10, I can't remember their number though. It should, they're closer to you geographically than Palmyra.
Yeah,
Should I pencil that in and see what it looks like?
yeah, that would be,
Okay. And we've got some other, if something comes up that doesn't fit, we'll do some moving. Very good.
needs a small.
They're still in our district though.
All right. Then what we have as far as next steps is by sometime Friday morning, we'll be reaching out to Galen and Kirsten to get some names for the community folks. In the meantime, if we could put together the list of your board candidates so that we have their mailing addresses and emails ready to go. Because looking ahead, we are saying that our next meeting is October 10th, as I recall.
Yes, that is correct.
And that will then be the profile meetings. And what I have down is that we're going to meet with faculty. What's the end of your school day?
Well, it's a teacher conference day that day, so students aren't there.
Okay, well, what time would you like us to be? 4 o'clock?
We probably have school improvement that day,
Yes.
so, yeah,
4 o'clock is okay.
yeah, for us, 3:30 is.
3:30 is probably good.
3:30?
3:30 is fine.
I have a question on the candidates that you want us, the two names. I guess, what is the stakeholders, what do you consider that? Do you consider that just people that live in the district? Someone that pays taxes in the district but live out of the district? Or option enrollment parents?
I guess in the past, the way we have clarified that, and it's certainly not written in stone, we would say that those patrons that are important folks in the business district that represent a cross, not business, in your district that represent a cross section of individuals. So important business individuals, important agriculture, folks, individuals, maybe important parents, people of goodwill that you would say are generally supportive of the school district, and they don't have to necessarily be movers and shakers, but there are people that you would all agree on that we would say we value their opinion. Is that fair?
I almost always seem to see a minister on the ones I was on.
So,
It's not uncommon to have, just by chance, but like people involved in like realty or insurance, I mean, it is truly a cross section of those people that are important to you.
Newspaper and
There you go.
Yeah.
she's already involved.
No, sir, we'll be in touch.
All right, that sounds good.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's very
Yes,
helpful.
you too.
Just a couple date reminders, October 10th next meeting, and then consider that conference, 16th date. Motion to adjourn,
So,
Jeff, and all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we are out here.